are three great reasons to work on Cambly. But before I start, I want to introduce myself. My name is Linda. My students call me Linda. Sometimes they call me teacher. And I've been working on Cambly for 2.5 years, enjoying every minute. I'm about to share three great reasons why you should apply to work on Cambly. I think the biggest reason, well, maybe not the biggest, but one of the reasons is that it provides extra income. Let's face it, a lot of us need to make more money. If you're retired, you might be looking for an extra income to supplement your pension. If you're in between jobs, you might need to find something to do for income while you're applying for other jobs. So it's a great way to make extra income. Now, I schedule myself for about 10 hours a week. Sometimes I make $100. Sometimes I make a little bit more than that. But what I like about it is that it does provide me with a regular type of income on Mondays. I know exactly how much I'm going to get on Monday because the system tells me that I've worked so many hours and that I have so much pay. So that's great. And so that's one reason. Another great reason to work on Cambly is that you learn a lot about different countries and about different cultures. Now, I have had the pleasure and the opportunity to work with students from all over the world. And I have to tell you that before this experience, I really didn't know a lot about China or a lot about Brazil or about Saudi Arabia or about Turkey or South Korea or Taiwan. Those are just some of the countries that the students come from. So I didn't know a lot. And of course, over time, you get to know the students and you get to understand what their country is all about. Now, some students have told me that they live in a very, very small island, like Taiwan is really small. I didn't know it was that small. And I didn't know that you could travel from one end of Taiwan to the next in so many hours. Those are things that you'll find out if you do decide to apply to Cambly. Now, it's the same thing with people from Turkey. I've learned so much about some of the different cities in Turkey. And what I like about it is that these students are in that country, of course, except if they're in Canada. But it's so interesting to talk to a student who lives in Canada. I'm from Canada, I'm Canadian, and it's so interesting to talk to a student who lives in my country. I remember meeting a student who actually lived in Toronto. She was from Turkey, but had been living in Toronto for a few years. I thought that was great. And I also remember meeting with a student who was applying to go to college at one of the local colleges close to where I live. That to me was so, so interesting. You know, being able to talk to him about the college, about the city where he'll be moving to, and he had a lot of interesting questions. So I can learn about their countries and about their culture, just like I'm able to share about my country as well. I think that is a great reason to be working on Cambly. And the last reason to work on Cambly is because I know that I can make a difference in someone's life. In fact, I have made a difference in people's lives. I'll give you a few examples. I remember this was about a year or so ago that I met this student who lives in India. And when I first met her, she was telling me that she was going to go and do her English evaluation. Now, there is a test called the IELTS, and she was preparing for it. She needed to practice mostly the speaking skills. And so I helped her practice these speaking skills. I timed her, I went online and checked out some great sites, asked her some relevant questions, and eventually she felt more and more comfortable to go and do this evaluation. I also met her husband. It was so interesting talking to her husband as well, who also wanted to practice for this evaluation. So we met, and they both were able to be quite successful with this test. Now, it's a challenging test, it's an evaluation of your skills, and it takes a lot of practice. And I have to say that with that particular student, she practiced. We met about 3 or 4 times a week sometimes, just to focus on the speaking skills. And it really was helpful to her. So that's a great, great example. I also remember meeting a student who was new to Canada. And this student didn't know how to talk any English or what to say to neighbors. So we talked about simple questions that she could ask. We talked about simple sentences that she could use to get to know her neighbors. That was at the beginning. We talked about how to ask for directions. Initially, it was very simple, basic question. Now, over time, that particular student did go to college. Now, in her country, she was a lawyer and she decided to go to college. Now, initially, she did take some English classes at the college level, but then over time, she decided to sign up for a paralegal program. And I remember meeting with her after she started the program, and I noticed the difference. I noticed the difference between when we first met and after. And I shared that with her. And I think the fact that I told her, listen, you're improving. I can really understand what you're telling me. The fact that I shared this with her made her day. Because a lot of these students don't realize how much improvement they're actually making. So it was so cool to share that with her and made her day, and it made my day too, because I know that I was part of that as well. There's a few other things that I could share with you. There's one other student I remember, and it could be very, very simple, like in this case, where I met the student just one time, but as soon as I got on, he wanted to have his homework corrected and revised. And I'm thinking, hang on, I'm not going to do your homework for you. But I definitely was able to help him correct his homework. And he was really, really happy about that. You know, not often do these students, these individuals, have a chance to talk to a local person or somebody who is a native speaker. So they really, really appreciate that. A lot of students might have taken English classes in their country, but it could have been from a teacher from their country, and not necessarily someone who speaks the native English. So that's one thing that I can contribute to them. I can really make a difference in their lives. I had another student who had started a job in the United States, and she noticed that some people actually do some casual chit chat. They talk about anything and everything. So I had to kind of explain to her some of the cultural differences or values. You know, that in my country, just like in the United States, we like to ask our coworkers how their weekend was. We'd like to sometimes talk about our kids. We'll do our job, of course, but when it's time for break or when it's time for lunchtime, it's time to talk about those kind of what might seem to be personal type questions. So I really made a difference in her life. She was able to then understand why she was being asked these questions and also engage in that type of conversation too. So great experience for her, and as well a great experience for me as well. I hope that I'm able to encourage you to really consider applying to Cambly. And if you do, check out the link below. There's a referral link that I'd like you to use when you do go on Cambly. And once you get accepted on Cambly, listen, you're going to get 20 minutes. I'd love to talk with you. You can use those 20 minutes for anything, really. You can meet with different tutors. But I think it would be so great if we get together. I'll be able to help you ease into your new role. I hope you have a lot of